Hey friends, I'm Amy, a health coach here at Flip Your Leaf, and today we're going to be talking about how to balance your low FODMAP diet. And by that I mean how to make sure that you're nutritionally balanced as you're going through the elimination phase, your challenges, and really building your personalization phase. Now, first of all, I want to say that the purpose of the low FODMAP diet is really to mirror your current diet as closely as possible. And that's because what we're really trying to see is if we take out the FODMAPs or sort of lower that FODMAP threshold for you in your regular diet, does that do anything to your symptoms? If you notice a huge symptom change, you're eating all the same foods and the same portions and the same sort of style, we'll know that by taking out the FODMAPs, if you've had a significant decrease in your symptoms, that FODMAP sensitivity is definitely an issue for you, or there was something in those FODMAP buckets that they were just overflowing, and sort of getting to the root cause of that for you. But when it comes to sort of how to balance your plate, if you're curious about that, now I'm Canadian, and so what we'll be talking about today are Canadian dietary guidelines and recommendations. You can feel free to check out your government websites or your dietetic associations and see what their guidelines are and if they differ in any way. But it's super exciting. In Canada, we actually just updated our food pyramid. So we had that food pyramid where it was sort of like things you wanted to eat more were on the bottom and things you wanted to eat less were kind of on the top. And they've actually rejigged this to be really, really clear for Canadians. So we now have a plate. And they say that, half of this plate we want to be fruits, vegetables, leafy greens. A quarter of the plate we want to be starches, and so that's whole grains and starchy vegetables. And then another quarter of our plate we want to be proteins. And the exciting part about this update is that they have included a recommendation for non-animal proteins. And so this is plant-based proteins. And that has never been on our food pyramid for as long as I can remember. And so this is a super exciting development. The basic guideline is half we're doing leafy vegetables, fruits, vegetables, a quarter we're doing starches, whether that's whole grains or starchy vegetables, and then another quarter we're doing protein. And so part of a balanced diet is really making sure that we're having all three of our macronutrients, being carbs, fat, and protein, at every meal and every snack. And I know that this is something that I really struggle with, getting all of my macronutrients in all of my meals and snacks, but it really is important for our overall health. So there are a couple of reasons that I recommend having protein with every meal and every snack. And first of all, it's because it keeps you full longer. If you're going to go to the trouble of making yourself a meal, or you're going to take a snack on the go with you because you're worried you'll get hungry, of course you want to be full. And so just by adding protein to your meal, you're going to stay fuller longer. And that, helps cut down on calories, that helps cut down on cravings. Like, it does a whole bunch of things just by adding a little protein to every meal and every snack. Plus, when we add protein, we actually slow down our digestion. So if you were just going to eat a carb, they're broken down so easily, so quickly, that they get just pulled into the bloodstream. I want to say right away, that's not scientifically accurate, but they get pulled in so quickly that they can actually cause a spike in our blood sugar. And then, our insulin comes through its little hall monitor, and there's too many people in this hall, and it sort of clears everything out, and then there's nothing else coming. And now we have a blood sugar crash, and now we're getting cravings for like chocolate and caffeine and like a nap, and like, it's just a big mess. And so just by pairing protein with there, now we're slowing down the rate that these carbs are getting digested. And so some of them are coming in. We're getting that, a little bit of a sugar boost from those simple carbohydrates, but the protein is slowing them down enough that they're all not coming into the bloodstream at the same time. So they're keeping us full, they're slowing down our digestion, and they're really helping prevent those blood sugar crashes, those really big highs and lows. Now, I don't know about how it is where you live, but here in Canada, people are kind of obsessed with protein. It's kind of a thing. So if you're worried you're not getting enough protein, the average adult only needs 50 grams of protein per day, and many of us far, far exceed the recommended intake of protein. And so if you are taking protein supplements, you're looking for protein powders and things like that on the low FODMAP diet, I would really recommend checking in with a health nutritionist or a dietitian or even a health coach, just to see how much protein you're actually eating and if you need more protein in your diet. Because I know that marketing has kind of fueled this protein frenzy where nobody's getting enough, and you need bars, and you need these cookies, and you need these shakes to sort of keep your body healthy. Odds are you're getting more than enough protein in your diet. If you want to double check that, like, I can help you with that, your dietitian can help you with that, and we can really make sure that you're getting what you need. Now, of course, if you're like a marathon runner, if you're, an elite weightlifter, your protein needs are going to be a little bit different. And you probably know what they are. If you don't, again, you can totally check in with a health coach or a nutritionist or a dietitian, and we can help sort of do the math for you and figure out if you are getting enough protein in your diet. And if you're not, I always use a food first approach, which means that I will always, try and find ways to work food into your diet before I approach supplements, because they're full of junk. The way that they're created often devalues some of their onboard nutrition. And so if you're looking to add more protein to your low FODMAP diet, especially if you're plant-based, I actually have a low FODMAP protein source list. Well, that was a lot of words. I have a list in my VIP resource library. It's password protected, but that's just for spam robots. I'll link the library below. You can totally sign up and grab the protein list in there. Okay, so next we're going to talk about fat. And I want to open this conversation by saying that fat doesn't make you fat. Like, this is not something that you need to be afraid of. It is something that you need to treat with respect. It is something that you need to sort of think about. What is the packaging that it's coming with? Like, fat from a hamburger is very different than fat from an avocado. And while it does pack a lot of calories, it does actually add a lot of value to our bodies. So fat is similar to protein in the sense that it slows down digestion. And so when we're pairing fat with carbs, again, they're not going to be sort of taken up into the bloodstream as quickly, which means we're not going to get that super, super spike, and we're not going to get that crash where we're getting those cravings. Another great thing about fat is that it gives us that sense of satiety. Like, if you're eating just rice and chicken all the time, you're not getting that feeling of satisfaction. And that's where we get into like cravings, we get into binge eating. So sometimes just by adding a tiny bit of fat, whether that's some like extra virgin olive oil or some seed butter or just some nuts or, a piece of avocado or even a piece of cheese, like there are many ways that we can add small amounts of fat to your diet that won't impact your weight, might actually help you lose weight in some cases, and really give you that sense of satisfaction where your body's not sort of looking out, on the lookout for other things to satisfy itself. And, when we're getting late into the night, sometimes that feels like cookies, sometimes that feels like ice cream, and it's really just the chemicals in our brain saying, I'm not satisfied, and I'm looking for something to sort of fill that void for me. And so by filling that throughout the day, by having fat with all your meals and all your snacks, like we can totally work together, make sure that those are the types of fats that are going to keep you healthy, keep you energized, keep your body feeling the way that feels like home for you, and really just up the value of nutrients in your body. Really make sure that your body has what it needs to run successfully, to feel that balance where it's not sort of going through the world looking for things to sort of fill that little hole in your body for itself. So that was a ton of information to take in. So just to recap our idea for today, Canadian guidelines recommend using half of your plate for fruits, vegetables, and leafy greens, a quarter of your plate for whole grains and starches, and a quarter of your plate for either plant-based or animal-based proteins. And again, I have that list of low FODMAP plant-based proteins in my VIP resource library, and I'm going to drop the link for that below. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You are going to get so much more information about IBS, the mechanics of the low FODMAP diet, and really how to feel at home in your body. I'll see you in my next video.